All right, thank you. Thank you for checking out this video series on the Genius 180-day review. PulseChain. So this whole section we're going on here has a lot to do with PulseChain launch. And then the wider, broader section is going to go over Genius's usage growth, tokenomics, value analysis, and the new dApps for Genius. But the PulseChain launch, this was very exciting. It was a very exciting time. PulseChain launch is done, but what happened with PulseChain, right, was that all of the tokens that were on Ethereum were getting copied to PulseChain. So in other words, everything that lived in Ethereum land was going to be copied over to a new land called PulseChain. What did this mean for Genius users? It meant that Genius users, their miners, their tokens, all of their tokens, all of the Genius miners that were for Ethereum, they were copied over to PulseChain. So if you had 10 miners on Ethereum, then during PulseChain's launch, right when PulseChain launched, you had 10 miners for PulseChain. So now, what I want to say is with that copy, you could think of it like a counterfeit. Not that it is, but it was value created from thin air. That's not necessarily a bad thing. In crypto, value has been created from thin air constantly. And in fact, you yourself, all of us as creative human beings, we create money and value out of thin air all the time. It's just what we do. And some of us don't, but we create value out of thin air, whether it's what we do, whether it's our promises, our attention. So here, the Genius token, right, and all the other tokens, when they're copied and everybody gets free value and double value, there's a lot of speculation that this value would be used up. People would sell, people would cash out, people would liquidate, especially in a bear market. Well, what we had though is that the Genius token's price, the market price for Ethereum and for PulseChain, it's held strong. At the time of writing this, it held strong. Now there's more of a discount for Genius for Ethereum. But let's check this out because this was quite amazing. Genius holders, during this PulseChain launch, at this PulseChain launch, Genius holders effectively doubled their value. That means that if you had $1,000 worth of Genius, now you had $1,000 worth of Genius on PulseChain. And you could cash that out for another grand. Pretty cool. That only happened with Genius. And it was a great feeling. It was a great feeling because this was discussed for a long time before PulseChain was launched. Pre-PulseChain launch, many people went back and forth on, well, which asset would it be? Which blockchain asset is going to hold its value once the PulseChain launch happens? So when everything gets copied over, when all this new wealth is created, which blockchain assets are going to actually hold up to their value that they had on Ethereum? Many speculated it was DAI, myself too. I didn't look into the tokenomics of these effects too much, else I would have said not DAI, but sometimes I don't care about some things. I did look at what were the best things to get and hold on to, and to me, it was a hard question to answer. But when it came to DAI, DAI didn't hold its value. DAI is a stable coin, $1 value. It didn't hold its $1 peg value. And today there's no chance for its value to parity or to become equal with DAI bridged over from Ethereum. Well, everyone said that it would be Hex. Everyone said, okay, Hex is going to do far better on PulseChain. Well, it's doing better on PulseChain. But everyone said that Hex was that was the thing to buy. Now, did they say it because PulseChain developers worked with Hex and maybe there was a conflict of interest? Of course. Well, what really happened was in 1 month on PulseChain, Genius went up 390%. That's a lot. Well, really, it went up a lot more than that. It went up nearly 1,000%, right? But over 1 month, 390%. Hex went down 30%. And in these, by the way, in these graphs that you see, many of them I have them set for a period of 1 week. That's only because the 1 month period was broken. It was broken for the source that was used. So hex, negative 30%. All right. Well, so when it comes to, now that's the dollar value of hex. That's the dollar value of Genius. And this is just an analysis on one of the many tokens that Genius, I guess you could say, went head to head with. Well, with the Genius versus hex chart, as in the value ratio, you got 41% more value holding Genius and using Genius than you did holding hex on PulseChain. So the clear winner here was Genius token. And so this is great. This is a huge achievement, especially considering the marketing efforts of the PulseChain and hex community, which are together, very much together. So Genius kicked like everything's ass on PulseChain. It was quite amazing. Well, that's when PulseChain was launched. So if you were to think about the historical price analysis with PulseChain, you have to look at Ethereum, because remember, PulseChain was copied from Ethereum. And on those first 90 days, same thing for PulseChain, that the Collateral Vault, the Genius Collateral Vault, absorbed a lot of selling pressure. There were a lot of people that were happy to cash out when Genius first launched. But the AI, the Genius Collateral Vault, they all worked together to absorb a lot of that pressure. So much to the point where people were saying that Genius was a confirmed stablecoin. I thought this was funny. But this is kind of important to pay attention to for all crypto. Well, with bear markets, it can happen where people are hurting for cash. What these financial institutions and national policy and many other factors, what are done by human beings in power tends to hurt everyone. And then you have a lot of people hurting for cash. Well, to be frank, it's really the banking industry is an expert at siphoning value from people. Genius is an expert at siphoning value from tokens, but this is what happens in bear markets, in bad markets, in depressions. People hurt. And often they sell the most liquid assets, such as Bitcoin and Genius. Well, if you can, don't do that. If you want to do it, fine. But remember, you have other options. Just because you have something that's very liquid, you might be able to get a credit card loan. Who knows? It's just there's more strategies. There's a saying that I heard once that I thought was amazing. It had to do with needing money. It had to do with business and being in a position where you need money. And the quote is, you don't always need money. Sometimes you need a better strategy. Well, maybe the quote was more of, you don't need money, you need a better strategy. Selling your most liquid asset, it's a bad idea. And that's what happened. So on the next video, we're going to go more over price analysis with Genius for the first 180 days. And I can't wait for you to see it. It's pretty great.